In the heart of a city that never seemed to sleep, where the lights twinkled like stars borrowed from the sky, there was one musician who was very much asleep, at least in the creative sense. Charlie Fletcher, once a chart-topping sensation with a knack for catchy tunes, now found himself wandering the streets, his mind as empty as the pockets of an unpaid musician. His days were filled with strumming half-hearted chords on his guitar and muttering to himself about the terrible fate of artists who lost their muse. On a particularly uninspiring Wednesday night, Charlie stood in front of his tiny apartment, which smelled of leftover takeout and failed dreams. How hard can it be to write one decent song, he grumbled to the old bicycle chained to the railing, which had never once answered him. With a dramatic sigh, he decided that a walk was in order, a chance to clear his head, shake off the cobwebs of creative block, and perhaps get inspired by the sights and sounds of the city. As he meandered through the familiar streets, Charlie's attention drifted. He watched as couples strolled by, hand in hand, sharing laughter that made his heart ache a little. What do they have that I don't? He wondered aloud, his voice echoing off the buildings. A decent haircut? A successful podcast? Love? The bicycle, of course, remained silent. After an hour of aimless wandering, he found himself at the edge of town, where the bustling city began to fade into the shadows of an old graveyard. The cemetery was overgrown and eerie, a forgotten patch of land where whispers of the past lingered like fog. He felt a shiver run down his spine, but curiosity tugged at him. "Why not?" he said to the wind. "It's not like I have a gig to get to." The moment he stepped inside the wrought iron gates, a chill settled over him. Moonlight spilled over the tombstones, casting ghostly shadows that danced around him. "Well, this is cheery," Charlie remarked dryly, shoving his hands deep into his pockets. "I could write a whole album here, songs of the spooky." As he wandered deeper into the graveyard, the air grew thick with an otherworldly quiet. Charlie's imagination began to wander, creating absurd scenarios in which the ghosts of long-dead musicians roamed the graves, each lamenting their unfinished symphonies. He chuckled at the thought of a spectral Elvis trying to coax him into a duet. Then, as he turned a corner, he heard it, the most beautiful, haunting melody he had ever encountered. It floated through the air like a gentle breeze, wrapping around him, pulling him closer to its source. "What in the world?" Charlie whispered, his heart racing. The music was both enchanting and eerie, a blend of sorrow and beauty that made him feel alive in a way he hadn't felt in years. He followed the sound, weaving through the tombstones until he reached a particularly ornate grave. The headstone was old, adorned with intricate carvings that seemed to shimmer in the moonlight. Charlie leaned in closer, captivated by the melody that emanated from the earth itself. "If I could just figure out this tune," he thought, "it could be the comeback I've been waiting for." Just then, a raccoon scuttled across his path, sending Charlie jumping back. "Hey! Watch it," he exclaimed, waving his arms in mock outrage as the raccoon paused, seemingly unfazed. "You scared the inspiration right out of me." The creature stared at him, its beady eyes reflecting the moonlight, and Charlie felt a moment of camaraderie with the little thief of trash. As the melody swelled around him, he took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and let the music wash over him. It was as if the graveyard itself was alive, whispering secrets of love and loss through its ancient stones. He pulled out his guitar, fingers itching to capture the essence of what he was hearing. "All right, graveyard, let's make some magic," he said, strumming a few chords in an attempt to blend his sound with the haunting melody. And that's when everything started to go hilariously wrong. Just as he hit the first note, a heavy gust of wind swept through the graveyard, sending leaves swirling around him like a mini tornado. Charlie struggled to keep his balance, his guitar almost flying out of his hands. "Okay, not what I had in mind," he shouted, laughing at the absurdity of the moment. But he pressed on, determined to grasp the elusive tune. The music intensified, merging with his strumming, and for a brief moment, he felt invincible. "This is it," he cheered, his heart racing with excitement. "My big break. I'll be a legend." But as the last note echoed into the night, a sudden silence enveloped the graveyard. Charlie paused, feeling an unsettling shift in the air. He glanced around, a chill creeping up his spine. The raccoon had vanished, and the shadows around him seemed to deepen. "Maybe I should get going," he muttered, suddenly feeling like a character in a horror movie. Just then, a soft, eerie voice whispered through the trees. "You should have left it alone." Startled, Charlie bolted upright, heart pounding. "What? Who said that?" He scanned the graves, half expecting a ghostly figure to emerge, ready to berate him for trespassing. "All right, very funny, guys. You can stop with the sound effects now." But there was no response, only the rustling of leaves and the distant hoot of an owl. Determined to brush off the chills, he turned to leave but felt a sudden pressure in his chest. "All right, Charlie," he said to himself, taking a deep breath. "You're a musician. You've faced worse things, like that one time you performed for a room full of cats." With a last look at the ornate grave, he promised himself he would come back and learn the song. After all, he couldn't let a little fear stand in the way of a potential hit. As he stumbled out of the graveyard, a new sense of purpose began to bloom in his chest. Just imagine, he thought, a song inspired by the graveyard. "I'll call it The Melodies of the Forgotten, and I'll make it a tribute." With a chuckle, he muttered, "And if I get rich and famous, I'll buy a new bicycle. One that can actually handle the weight of my brilliance." The next day, with a spring in his step and an overly caffeinated enthusiasm, Charlie sat down at his battered piano. He began to write, the notes flowing like the laughter of children in a park. But as he poured his heart into the music, a nagging thought crept into his mind. What if the stories of the graveyard were true? What if the song was cursed? Charlie brushed it aside. Cursed? Come on, Charlie. You don't believe in that nonsense. But as he put pen to paper, the weight of the melody hung heavy over him, almost like a warning. He had to finish the piece, had to play it for an audience, and had to know if this strange magic could save his career. That evening, he decided to debut his new song at an open mic night at the local cafe. It was a small venue, but it was familiar territory, a place where he had played many times before. As he stepped onto the stage, the warmth of the room enveloped him. Friends and fellow musicians greeted him with cheers and encouragement. "All right, folks," he announced, trying to keep the nerves at bay. "I've got something special for you tonight, a little tune I stumbled upon in a graveyard." Yes, you heard that right. And it's, sort of a love song. The crowd chuckled, and he felt a rush of adrenaline. He strummed the first few chords, and as the melody began to fill the air, Charlie lost himself in the music. The notes danced, weaving together a tapestry of emotion that resonated with everyone in the room, but just as the chorus hit, he noticed something strange. An audience member in the front row, a burly man with a thick beard, had suddenly gone pale. He clutched his chest and let out a gasp, toppling over in a dramatic fashion. "Whoa! Hold on!" Charlie shouted, panic rising in his throat. He rushed to the man, his heart racing. "Is he okay? Someone call an ambulance." Chaos erupted in the cafe as the music came to a screeching halt. Charlie knelt beside the man, who was now unconscious, and looked around at the horrified faces of his friends. I didn't mean to kill him," he exclaimed, the absurdity of the situation dawning on him. "What did you play?" one friend asked. Wide-eyed, "I don't know. Just a song I found in a graveyard," Charlie replied, incredulity creeping into his voice. The realization hit him like a ton of bricks. The ghostly whispers, the eerie melody, was it all connected? As the paramedics arrived and the crowd murmured in disbelief, Charlie stumbled back from the scene, heart racing. He was suddenly aware of a chill running down his spine, as if the graveyard itself had reached out to him through the music. "This is ridiculous," he muttered, shaking his head. "It's just a song." But as the paramedics wheeled the man out on a stretcher, Charlie couldn't shake the feeling that he had awakened something sinister in the process. As the paramedics wheeled the man out on a stretcher, Charlie's heart raced with a mix of confusion and dread. He had come to the cafe that night looking for inspiration, only to unleash a chaos he could never have anticipated. The whispers of the graveyard echoed in his mind, and he couldn't shake the feeling that he was now part of a much larger narrative, a haunting tale that was just beginning to unfold. "Charlie, what the hell just happened?" His friend Sarah, a sharp-witted barista with an eye for drama, approached him, her brow furrowed with concern. "I swear I didn't do anything," Charlie protested, rubbing the back of his neck nervously. "I just played a song I found in a graveyard." Sarah's expression shifted from concern to disbelief. "A song from a graveyard? Seriously? You've got to be kidding me." "It sounds ridiculous, I know. But it was beautiful, and I thought it could revive my career," Charlie stammered, trying to explain himself. "And then that guy just collapsed. What if I really did summon something?" "Maybe you should stop summoning things, Charlie," she said with a half-smile, but her eyes betrayed her own unease. "You should check on him. What if it's serious?" Guilt washed over Charlie as he watched the stretcher disappear through the cafe doors. He had wanted to create something magical, not cause someone harm. Taking a deep breath, he turned to Sarah. "I need to find out if he's okay. And I think I need to go back to that graveyard." "Are you serious? You want to go back there?" Sarah's voice pitched with incredulity. "After all this? You can't be thinking of playing that song again." "I have to. I need to understand what's happening. Maybe there's something I missed." With a determined nod, he stepped out into the night, the cool air hitting his face like a splash of cold water. The moon hung high, a silent witness to his unfolding madness. The walk back to the graveyard felt longer this time, each step heavy with the weight of uncertainty. The city buzzed with life, but Charlie felt detached from it all, as if he were walking through a dream. He couldn't help but replay the scene at the cafe in his head, the moment the melody had turned from a beautiful inspiration into something dark and terrifying. As he approached the graveyard, the air seemed to thicken, wrapping around him like a shroud. The ornate iron gates creaked open as he pushed through, and he steeled himself for whatever awaited him. The moonlight illuminated the winding paths, but the shadows danced more playfully now, teasing him as he walked deeper into the heart of the cemetery. Finding the grave that had captured his attention the night before, Charlie stared at the headstone. The name was partially obscured by moss, but he could still make out the initials, E.M. The haunting melody whispered through his mind, urging him to discover its secrets. "Okay, E.M., he said aloud, trying to summon the courage. "Let's see what you've got." With a hesitant hand, he brushed away the dirt and debris from the gravestone, revealing more of the intricate carvings. They depicted scenes of love and loss, of two figures entwined in a dance. Charlie felt an odd sense of kinship with this long-gone musician, as if they shared the same struggles and dreams. As he settled on the ground, guitar in hand, he took a moment to compose himself. "I'm just here to talk," he said, feeling ridiculous but oddly comforted by the silence around him. "And to find out what went wrong." He began to strum the chords he had written, and as the melody flowed from his fingers, he felt the air shift. The gentle breeze picked up, rustling the leaves and carrying his music through the graveyard. He played with passion, pouring his heart into every note, determined to honor the spirit of the song and the memory of Em. Suddenly, the melody began to change, almost as if it were responding to him. The notes twisted and turned, weaving a complex tapestry of sound that was both familiar and foreign. Charlie closed his eyes, surrendering to the music as it enveloped him like a warm embrace. He could feel a presence beside him, urging him to continue. As he reached the climax of his new version, he heard a faint echo of laughter, a soft, tinkling sound that sent chills down his spine. He opened his eyes to see the shadows dancing more animatedly than before, swirling around him as if joining in on the melody. He laughed nervously, the absurdity of it all washing over him. "This is either going to be really great or really bad," he muttered to himself. Then, just as he hit the final chord, the world around him seemed to erupt. The air crackled with energy, and he felt a rush of wind whip through the graveyard, swirling leaves and dust around him. Charlie shielded his eyes, struggling to keep his guitar steady. When the whirlwind subsided, he found himself face to face with a figure, an ethereal apparition, glowing softly in the moonlight. The spirit, a woman in a flowing gown with a serene expression, stood before him, her presence both calming and electrifying. "You've come to awaken me," she said, her voice melodious, like the song he had just played. "I am Eleanor." "Eleanor," Charlie repeated, feeling a mixture of awe and fear. I played your song." She nodded, a soft smile gracing her lips. "You've given it new life, but it is not without consequence." "What do you mean?" he asked, his heart racing. "Is that why the guy at the cafe collapsed?" "Those who hear the song without understanding its origin may suffer its effects. It is a song of love, yes, but also of loss. A curse that protects its essence," she explained, her voice tinged with sadness. Charlie felt a pit forming in his stomach. "So, it's true? The song is cursed?" "The song carries the weight of my story, a story of love unfulfilled. I bound it to my grave, hoping to shield it from those who would misuse it." Eleanor stepped closer, her eyes shimmering. "But you have a heart for music. You seek to create, not destroy." "I just wanted to find inspiration," Charlie admitted, the weight of his ambition crashing down on him. "I never meant for anyone to get hurt." Eleanor's expression softened. "Then perhaps you can help me break the cycle. Rewrite the song to reflect a love that transcends loss. If you do, the curse will lift, and the souls tied to it will find peace." Charlie's mind raced. "How do I do that? I don't even know what your story is." "Listen closely," she instructed, gesturing to the grave around them. "The answers are in the past. Listen to the whispers of those who came before us." Taking a deep breath, Charlie closed his eyes once more, allowing himself to absorb the ambience of the graveyard, the rustling leaves, the distant hoots of owls, and the subtle heartbeat of the earth beneath him. He focused on Eleanor's presence, letting it guide him. Memories of love and laughter, of sorrow and yearning, began to emerge in his mind. He strummed the guitar again, and this time, he let the music lead him. It swirled around him like a tapestry woven from threads of memory and emotion, the melody transforming into something brighter, lighter. He poured his soul into the notes, transforming the haunting sadness into a celebration of love that transcended time and space. Eleanor listened, her spirit glowing brighter with each chord, and Charlie felt a profound connection with her, as if they were weaving their stories together through the power of music. The air shimmered with energy, and he knew he was on the brink of something extraordinary. As he finished the last notes, the wind picked up again, swirling around them like a dance of joy. "You did it!" Eleanor exclaimed, her face alight with happiness. "You've given voice to what was lost. Now, the curse is broken." Suddenly, the world around them shifted. The shadows began to recede, and the graveyard felt lighter, as if a weight had been lifted. The trees swayed gently in the wind, and the air sparkled with a newfound vibrancy. "You can rest now," Charlie said, feeling an overwhelming sense of relief wash over him. "Your story will be told." Eleanor smiled, a radiant glow surrounding her. "And you, Charlie, will carry my song into the world, bringing joy to others. Remember, music is a bridge between hearts." As her spirit began to fade, Charlie felt a warmth envelop him, filling the spaces within that had been empty for so long. He realized that he had not only discovered a song but had forged a connection that would stay with him forever. With the graveyard now alive with light and possibility, Charlie stood up, his guitar resting against his hip. The night no longer felt ominous. Instead, it sparkled with potential. "I'll make sure your story is heard, Eleanor," he promised, determination flooding his veins. "And I'll start right away." As he walked back toward the entrance, a new sense of purpose ignited within him. The world outside the graveyard awaited, filled with listeners eager for a new melody, one that would carry with it the spirit of love, loss, and the triumph of creation. He stepped back into the city, the bustling streets now vibrant with life. Charlie smiled to himself, envisioning the reaction of the audience when he would perform his new song. This time, it wouldn't just be about fame or fortune, it would be about connection, about the magic that happens when stories intertwine. And as he walked, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was no longer just a musician but a storyteller, entrusted with the melodies of the past and the hopes for the future. With every step, he felt lighter, ready to embrace whatever lay ahead. Charlie knew the journey was just beginning, but for the first time in a long while, he was excited about where it would take him. As he entered the cafe once more, the familiar buzz enveloped him. His friends were still there, waiting with eager expressions, curious about the night's events. "You're back!" Sarah exclaimed. "What happened? Is everyone okay?" Charlie grinned, a twinkle of mischief in his eye. "Oh, just a little encounter with the supernatural. You wouldn't believe it if I told you." And as he took the stage, the echoes of the graveyard still fresh in his mind, he began to share his story, not just of the melody that had haunted him, but of the love that had inspired it. The room fell silent as he strummed the first chords, a melody that danced through the air, resonating with the hearts of everyone present. It was a new beginning, not just for him but for all the souls intertwined in the music, a celebration of life, love, and the power of stories that would never truly fade away. With each note, Charlie knew he had found his way back to the music, to the laughter and joy it could bring. And in that moment, he felt the whispers of the graveyard echoing in his heart, a gentle reminder that every song has a story, and every story deserves to be told. And so, he played on, a storyteller weaving the threads of the past into a tapestry of hope for the future, embracing the magic of music and the bonds that connect us all.